actually, no, shut up.
No.
Can you shut your mouth for a minute?
No.
Because I actually work in the ghetto. I see the people.
Do you know why they're in that
Go and
position?
I see these people.
Do you understand the systematic
They
and
get
historical
all kinds
reason
of
for why they're in
chances
that
and
position?
They don't care. All they want to do is be ghetto.
No.
Yes, there's some that don't, and there's good people.
No.
Most of them just want to suck off the system or do something bad like drugs or gangs. And that's all
They have been oppressed. They have not been given the same opportunities you have had.
They do, and there's plenty of black people.
No, they don't, Dad.
There's plenty of
And you not recognizing that as an issue is the reason why it's still continuing today.
I see them all over. There's all kinds of successful people that are of color. It doesn't matter what color, brown, white.
But it's a
orange,
lot harder
yellow.
for them to get to that position.
It doesn't matter. When they do, they're fine. But there's always filthy animals. And that
You're calling people of color black animals. You're calling them animals. Are you kidding me?
You didn't let me finish.
That's not okay. No matter what,
too.
that's not okay. No matter what, it's not okay. Racism is not okay. Why do you think that racism is okay?
Oh, that's mine.
Billy, I'm gonna look at. No, I'm looking at statistics right now.
Your statistics they can be warped. Statistics can be warped. You want me to show you videos?
So why are
Do you want me to show you videos of cops? I will do it.
Statistics wrong?
Because they can be warped. I'm not giving statistics right now. They can be warped. Personal experiences can't.
No, because this is actually putting it into play. When you
Do I need to show you a bunch of videos of cops attacking protesters? Peaceful protesters.
Listen to this. This is the number.
You mean I'm informed and educated?
You're not though.
Yes, I am.
You're one-sided informed.
Mom, I was watching political stuff and you said to turn that off because you don't want to hear about it. That means that I am educated on it and you are not.
I'm sick of hearing it.
The fact that you can have that ignorance for the majority is bliss.
Okay, so
Ignorance for the minority
So I'm
is
looking at statistics
destruction.
that are wrong. This is just pure wrong information out there.
Just give me the statistic.
In 2017, 457 white people were shot to death by the police in the United States.
Okay.
223 were black.
76% of the population is white. 13% is black.
I get that.
If they were being killed at the exact same rate by police officers, the rate of black people being killed would be 8.9. But it's not. It's 24%. The rate of white people being killed should be about where it is. So they're being killed at a higher rate. There's more white people, meaning that the amount of people killed by cops who are white would be higher.
The reaction of the person. I'm not saying
Because they're
I'm
tired.
not saying it's
They're tired
right.
of being treated
I'm
that
not
way.
saying it's right.
Good.
But if they started teaching them that this is the world that we live in, you don't want to be killed. Why do you think your friend's father taught him that?
So that his black son doesn't end up dead like Tamir Rice.
Because he doesn't want him to grow up with the chip on his shoulder that
He doesn't
no
want
police
his black son to end up dead.
Exactly.
That's not okay. Why do you think that's okay?
Because
why is it something that you're okay with? Why is that a reality that you're okay with?
I'm okay with it.
But you are.
No, I'm not. I'm
So
saying
stand against it. So stand against it. If you're not okay with it, so stand
you wanna know
against
when I'll
it.
stand against it? When the black people in the ghetto stop carrying an illegal weapon. When the black people in the ghetto stop murdering each other.
I'll start caring about cops when they stop killing black people.
I'll start caring about black people when they stop killing cops.
Police officers, the rate of black people being killed would be 8.9, but it's not. It's 24%. The rate of white people being killed should be about where it is. So they're being killed at a higher rate. There's more white people, meaning that the amount of people killed by cops who are white would be higher.
The reaction of the person. I'm not saying
Because they're
I'm
tired.
not saying it's
They're tired
right.
of being treated
I'm
that
not
way.
saying it's right.
Good.
But if they started teaching them that this is the world that we live in, you don't want to be killed. Why do you think your friend's father taught him that?
Because so that his black son doesn't end up dead like Tamir Rice.
Because he doesn't want him to grow up with the chip on his shoulder that
He doesn't
no
want
police
his black son to end up dead.
Exactly.
That's not okay. Why do you think that's okay?
Because
why is it something that you're okay with? Why is that a reality that you're okay with?
I'm okay with it.
But you are.
No, I'm not.
So stand against it. So stand against it. If you're not okay with it, so stand against it.
When I'll stand against it? When the black people in the ghetto stop carrying an illegal weapon. When the black people in the ghetto stop murdering each other.
I'll start caring about cops when they stop killing black people.
I'll start caring about black people when they stop killing cops.
Many of you aren't angry enough about your racist parents. You should be angry at your racist parents. Because of them, you don't know how to function in a society with people who don't look like you. Because of them, you feel isolated. You don't know how to build community. And to be clear, it is not a community if it was built on hate, right? That's a mob. You don't have a community. You have a group of people who are just as hateful as you. And that's really the only thing that keeps you connected. Communities built on hate are not fulfilling communities. And imagine never knowing fulfillment because of your racist parents. And I know a lot of young racists will say, I feel fulfilled. You don't feel fulfilled. Whatever you're feeling is not fulfillment. It is hate that has transmogrified into something that is more sustainable. The body cannot tolerate that level of distress due to hating another group of people. And so it has created a way for you to cope internally. I don't feel sorry for you, but I do feel sorry for who you could have been if you had had different parents.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing great wherever you're watching us from. What if some of the most damaging lessons about racism aren't being taught in schools, on television, or on the internet, but right inside the family? Because racism doesn't always look like a protest sign or an obvious racial slur. Sometimes it sounds like a joke at a dinner table. Sometimes it's a parents warning their child about certain neighborhood. Sometimes it's a relative repeating stereotype and calling them fat. And sometimes it's a child realizing that the people who raised them would believe that directly dehumanize people who look like them. But something is changing. A younger generation is increasingly refusing to inherit the prejudice of previous generation. They are questioning their parents, they are challenging their relative, and in some cases, they are walking away from family members who refuse to confront their own racism. And that's what we are going to talk about today. Because if racism can be passed down from generation to generation, then so can be the courage to break the circle. And sometimes breaking that circle means choosing justice over family loyalty, accountability over silence, and human dignity over traditional built on prejudice. Let's dive into the video real quick. I'll be back with my commentaries.
So can you just admit that you two are racist?
I am not racist,
You are.
and I don't appreciate you saying that to me, Haley, or your father.
Dad has said he's racist.
You saw two black people depicted as apes. That's racist. And if you're cool with it, that makes you a racist.
He tried to match people up with the animals they look like.
Just like you saying that you didn't want to hear people speaking Spanish at the Super Bowl. That's racist.
No, what that is, I don't understand Spanish. I like to listen to songs that I can understand what they're saying.
I like the music.
I'm not going to yell at y'all. I'm not going to yell.
But you understand there's like 60 million people in the United States who do speak Spanish.
I don't care.
Happy. Half should be Spanish, half should be English.
And Bad Bunny is Puerto Rican and his first language is Spanish. Why shouldn't he be able to sing his native language?
That's too bad.
This is correct. And 3.5 months ago, he told us all we better start learning Spanish. That's not very nice, is it?
I'm so sorry that offended you.
We've probably all experienced this before, but when we have some family say some off-colored racist shit, a lot of times we don't really say anything, but after a certain point, we have to speak up. And that's exactly what happened with my dad and I. We got in a conversation because he asked what I was doing to protect my parents' business against looters and vandalizers, and okay. I was like, no, I'm not worried at all, because the people that are protesting, such a small portion of them are actually vandalizing or looting. So no, I'm not worried, because I've been to multiple protests and experienced nothing but love and positivity. And this bootlicking motherfucker, he goes on, well, you know, blacks and Asians are more inherently violent, and their interactions with law enforcement are more likely to turn violent. And if I was a cop, I would be, a 1 in 4 chance of the situation turning more violent if I was interacting with a person of color. Excuse me? I'm not worried about my dad getting killed in the field. I'm worried that he's going to kill somebody else, and I'm going to be protesting every single day to arrest him.
Hi, I'm Kylie, and here are the top 5 ways that hatred is passed on in white families. This is definitely a topic that not a lot of white people like to talk about because they prefer to stay race neutral or at least not air their dirty laundry in public, but I do have some things that I want to say. The first way that white people pass on hatred to their kids is literally at the dinner table. I can't even tell you how many times I'd be at another white person's house growing up, and their mom or dad would say something racist and look to their kid like they made a joke and wait for the kid to react. So in that way, the racist remark serves almost as a point of bonding between the parent and the child. The second way that it's passed on is in sports, especially if a white family or a white team is playing against a team that is primarily people of color. White people will say racist things. Did you see that defender? She was really aggressive, and other microaggressions that get passed on to the child. The third way is by discouraging their children from being friends with people of color because of certain innate qualities that they may have. Number 4, moving their kids to an all-white suburb. Number 5, praising celebrities and politicians that are racist.
If you're white and you know your family's racist, stop having kids with black men, please. Now let me tell y'all why. Backstory, I'm black and white. My mom is white, my dad is black. So I live with my mom's brother, my white uncle. And him and my little sister went down to Texas to see my other uncle, who already has had a history of saying racist shit. Mind you, I barely talk to my white family. Like, most of them, they on that side of the fence. So they go down to Texas to see him, and the uncle that I live with and my sister are going to get matching tattoos. And he already has a family tree of his nieces and nephews tatted. So my sister calls me and thinks it's funny that my other uncle told him, oh, since I think it's funny that you're getting your half black nieces and nephews tatted on your family tree like they're hanging off a tree. Who's laughing?
Why do some white people think that anti-racism should be left to minorities? That's a genuine question, because every time I talk about racism, I get the same comments. Why are you talking about this? Why are you speaking for black people? Stay in your lane, let minorities speak for themselves. Okay, but if racism is wrong, why would challenging it only be the responsibility of the people experiencing it? Why are some white people so comfortable expecting minorities to do all of the educating, all of the explaining, all of the emotional labor, all of the fighting, while they sit on the sidelines criticizing anybody who joins the conversation? Because that makes absolutely zero sense to me, especially when black people have been explaining racism for decades. The information is there, the history is there, the evidence is there, and at some point white people need to stop acting like racism is somebody else's problem to solve, because white supremacy was not built by minorities, so why would dismantling it be solely their responsibility? And in all honesty, some of the backlash that I've received has only convinced me more that these conversations need to happen. And if your response to a white person challenging racism is stop talking about racism, then maybe the issue isn't that I'm speaking. Maybe it's that you don't like what's being said.
The moment that I knew my mom was racist was the day where my older sister came back home, and she just seemed like there was something wrong with her. Like, she just seemed like off, and she just looked at me and said, like, Mom called a black man the N-word. And she was really she seemed just confused because she was a quarter black, and she always kind of struggled with her identity and like where she fit in and like how black she was, but she knew that was wrong, obviously. And then I just looked at my mom, and my mom was like, well, I didn't mean it like that. Like, I just said it so he'd stop hitting on your sister, because he was like some black homeless man downtown. She felt the need to like completely degrade him like that. And I just looked at her, and both of us were just kind of standing there, and I was like, why would you do that? I was like, I'm black. And then she just kept saying, well, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, you can't just say that word. And that's why, like, even now, like, you have to tell people, like, you can't just say that. Like, you can't just throw around that word and act like it's a lighthearted thing. Like, it was just so weird, because I was like, that's everything I am. So that's what you think of me. That's what I am to you. And it was just so weird, because I was like, you're supposed to be my mom, like, the person who's, like, protects me. And I was like, you're doing that all to get a man to stop hitting on my sister? Like, you couldn't have just used other words? And it's like, people don't understand, like, the gravity of, like, when you say things like that. Like, it's not just, like, a word that you throw out there. Like, it shows a lot about your character. It shows a lot about who you are. And I never looked at her the same after that. I never did. And it makes sense, like, fast forward, like, because my mom, like, I've already talked about it, but she gave me away when I was 5 years old, or she, like, left me with someone who was horribly abusive just because she didn't like me racially. Like, she didn't like anything about me. She had said it, like, that she was giving me away because I'm black. And I came out too black. And it all just kind of, like, clicked for me. And I couldn't stand my mom after that.
Let's talk about an uncomfortable aspect of racism. Some white people who have black children, even if they birthed them, are racist. Yeah, not all of them, but a lot of them are. A lot of them just like to fetishize black people, thinking that, you know, I am just sexually attracted to them, but I don't have to treat them as human. I sat there my whole life watching my own mother do this to my brother. And it's really unfortunate because every single time they had a fight, what word do you think she used? I'll give you a hint. It starts with an N. And she birthed this man. She birthed this man, and she treated him like he was a dog his whole life, and still continues to do so. Why do you think that he moved 2,000 miles away immediately after college and never came back? Because a lot of white people out there just like to have black children just so that they can say they have black children. But a lot of y'all don't even want to talk about it. And again, it's not every white person, but a lot of you love to do this. For example, one time I was seeing a black guy, my mom caught wind of it, and she goes, "Oh my God, I want black grandbabies so bad." I was literally just seeing this guy. That was it. And she wanted to use black grandbabies as a trophy, to be like, "I have black grandbabies." What are you talking about? These people aren't trophies. You shouldn't treat them like, "Oh my God, it's so taboo. Look at me. I have black family." It's not like that. They're people. And it's so more prevalent than you think it is.
I went no contact with my racist father over 20 years ago, and I'm finally ready to talk about it. When my father found out that I was dating a black man, he decided to call in a family meeting. At the time, he lived about 20 hours away. He made the drive in about 15 hours. Decided to have this family meeting at our local library because you can't yell or scream at the library. I agreed to meet him, and the first words out of his mouth were something that I will never forget, and I will never be able to forgive him for. He told me that that I was going to die of AIDS from fucking a primate. I'll just leave it at that. I stood up, kept my head held high, and I walked out of that meeting room and never spoke to him again. I would like to add that he has not reached out to me in the last 20 plus years as well. He is dying of what is suspected to be Lewy body dementia, and I've kind of struggled with whether or not I should reach out to him, but he hasn't reached out to me either. Not to apologize, not to make amends, for any reason, he has not reached out to me. So I think it's best that I just leave it as it is. And I'm making this video for anyone that might be struggling to go no contact with your racist family. I don't regret my decision because I have a beautiful black son. He is an adult now. I'm okay because I know that I protected him from feeling hated by someone who should have loved him and should have accepted him for who he is. I can't imagine exposing my child to someone who had that much hate in their heart just because of the color of his skin. It makes me sad that it's 2026 and there are still people in this world that feel that they are superior or that they are more deserving because of the color of their skin. But that is not something that I will ever tolerate, and I will never subject my children to. I know that if I hadn't gone no contact with my father, that it just would not have been good. So, to anyone out there who has these type of people in their family, I want you to know it's a them problem. It's them that have to reconcile their decisions and live with their choices and the beliefs that they have. And you going no contact is what's needed to protect your heart and your peace, and it's going to be okay, and it's for the best.
Welcome back, guys. After everything we have seen in this video, one thing should be clear. Racism doesn't survive only because of the loudest bigots. It also survives when ordinary people normalize it. It survives when somebody makes a racist joke at the dining table and everyone laughs. It survives when a parent teaches their child to fear an entire group of people. It survives when relative repeats stereotype and everyone else stays silent because that's just how they are. But that's exactly how generational prejudice gets passed down. Children don't just learn from what their parents tell them, they learn from what their parents tolerate. They learn who their families respect, who they fear, who they criticize, and who they treat as less deserving. And when those messages are repeated year after year, they can become deeply embedded in the way a person sees the world. That's why breaking the circle matters. Sometimes breaking the circle means having an uncomfortable conversation with your own parents. Sometimes it means challenging a relative at the dinner table. Sometimes it means refusing to laugh at a joke that dehumanizes somebody else. And sometimes, when all attempts at accountability fail, it means creating distance. Let's be clear about that. Walking away from racism isn't the same thing as destroying a family. If someone repeatedly chooses prejudice over respecting you or your children, the responsibility for that broken relationship doesn't automatically belong to the person who finally established a boundary. Family should never be used as an excuse to tolerate hatred. You can love somebody and still tell them they are wrong. You can appreciate your family history without inheriting every prejudice that came with it. And you can respect your parents while deciding that certain beliefs will not be passed down to your children. That's what real generational change looks like. And I think that's one of the most important messages in this entire conversation. Every generation has the opportunity to question what it inherited. You don't have to believe something simply because your grandparents believed it. You don't have to repeat a stereotype because you heard it growing up. You don't have to accept discrimination as tradition. And you certainly don't have to remain silent just because speaking up might make somebody uncomfortable. Because progress has always required people willing to challenge what society considered normal. There was a time when segregation was considered normal. There was a time when interracial relationships were condemned. There was a time when discrimination could openly determine where people lived, worked, went to school, and even who they could marry. People who challenged those systems were often accused of causing division, but the division weren't created by the people demanding equality. The injustice created the division, and that's an important distinction. Today, when people confront racism, they are sometimes accused of being too sensitive, too political, or too divisive. But asking people to stop dehumanizing others isn't extremism. Demanding equality treatment isn't extremism. Teaching children that people of different race deserve the same dignity isn't extremism. That's the foundation of a democratic society. And if you are white and you are discovering racism within your own family, you don't have to become defensive. You can become accountable. You can listen. You can learn. You can challenge racist conversation in space where your voice has influence. You don't have to speak over black people or make yourself the center of the conversation, but you can refuse to make racism comfortable around you. That is what solidarity looks like, because black Americans should not have to carry the entire burden of explaining racism to everyone else. The people experiencing discrimination shouldn't constantly have to educate the people benefiting from the system. There is a role for everyone in confronting prejudice, and sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is simply, not in my family, not in my home, not around my children, not in my presence. That doesn't mean every disagreement requires cutting somebody off. People can learn, people can change, People can make mistakes and take responsibility of them, but accountability requires honesty. You can't change something you refuse to acknowledge, and you can't demand forgiveness while continuing the behavior that caused the harm. So, if someone is willing to listen, learn, apologize, and change, there should always be room for growth. But if somebody repeatedly chooses racism, hatred, and dehumanization after being confronted, people have every right to protect themselves, especially parents protecting their children. Because no child should grow up wondering whether their own family consider them worthy of their love because of the color of their skin. No child should have to defend their identity at the dinner table, and no child should be forced to choose between family loyalty and their own dignity. That's not what family should mean. Family should be a place where you are safe, where you are respected, where you don't have to earn your humanity. And if we genuinely want racism to become less powerful in this country, we have to stop treating it like somebody else's problem. We have to confront it where it actually appears in our community, in our workplace, in our politics, on social media, and yes, sometimes inside our own family. Because racism doesn't disappear when we stop talking about it. It disappears when we stop teaching it. It disappears when children are taught empathy instead of stereotypes. It disappears when people challenge prejudice instead of protecting the person expressing it. And it disappears when each generation decides that the mistake and injustice of the previous generation will not become their inheritance. So maybe the question isn't why are people confronting their racist relative. Maybe the question should be why shouldn't they? If someone is willing to sacrifice their relationship with their own child rather than consider their prejudice, that's a choice. If someone refuses to accept a family member because of race, that's a choice. And if someone decides, I will not allow this hatred become part of my life or my children's life, that's a choice too. But it's a choice rooted in dignity, a choice rooted in accountability, a choice rooted in the belief that we can build something better. And that's where this conversation ultimately needs to go, not towards more division, not towards revenge, but towards responsibility. Because breaking generational racism doesn't mean pretending the past never happened. It means learning from it. It means recognizing the damage. It means refusing to pass that damage forward. And sometimes change begins with one person saying, it ends with me, the stereotypes end with me, the racist jokes end with me, the silence ends with me, and my children will inherit something better than what I inherited. That's how generations change, that's how cultures change, and ultimately, that's how society changes. So, if this video made you uncomfortable, maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes discomfort is where honest reflection begins. The real question is what we do after that discomfort. Do we become defensive or do we listen? Do we protect old prejudice or do we challenge them? Do we pass them down or do we break the circle? Because the future isn't going to be determined only by the politicians we elect or the laws we pass. It's also going to be determined by what parents teach their children, what families tolerate, and what ordinary people are willing to confront. And if we are serious about creating a society where every child can grow up knowing that their race does not determine their worth, then the work starts now. It starts with us, and it starts with refusing to let hatred become an inheritance. Thanks for staying with me throughout the end of this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.